to use the word to open up pathways. Painful for some. And get tricked. Well, you have to really want to be aware. Why is this painful for some? Seriously, I deal with quite a few beings. I mean, this is, for all intents and purposes, my job, to speak to people, to use the word to open up pathways. And there's a correlation between unresolved trauma and a lack of awareness. Let me repeat that. It is one and the same, unresolved trauma and a lack of awareness. And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this live stream. It's good to see all of you, and well, it's been a bit. So awareness is tough if there is immense repression. What do I mean when I say repression? Well, remember when you lied to yourself? I don't know, but you lied to yourself at one point or another. Yeah, remember when you just let that lie hang and transform you? Well, how about when you wanted to express, or when you still want to express how you truly feel and you feel like you can't? I would say that is actually traumatizing. It is a micro trauma, if we want to create a word, but any bit of unnatural behavior, which means suppressing your own expression, your own voice, your own movement, any bit of that almost puts more trauma into our psyche. So let's talk about anxiety. I mean, let's really open this up, because that's actually the main flavor of consciousness I notice in beings. Anxiety. You know, people are very anxious, and I don't think it's that complicated of a problem. I really don't. I think it's quite simple. In fact, I know it's quite simple. We like to make mountains out of molehills because we like to act dumb. And it goes so far to where people will say, I have anxiety. I am simply an anxious person. That's my personality or something. Well, the reason anxiety flourishes is because awareness is pissed on. Let's say that again. The reason anxiety flourishes is because awareness is ignored and defiled. Awareness of what you're doing with your body. What are you putting in your mouth? What are you guzzling down each day? That does matter, you know. It does affect consciousness. Are you lying in any capacity to yourself or another? Well, then you're going to feel a bit of anxiety. Because anxiety is felt when there's a lack of embodiment, a lack of presence. And while everybody out there wants to focus on love and compassion, you won't hear that bullshit from me. Not just that, because I'm about awareness and presence. And from awareness comes presence. Now, when I say presence, I mean presence, your presence, how you conduct yourself, how you operate in your interactions towards yourself in the world. I mean, of course, there are many parts of this movie we would not like to play back, but I would imagine the goal of ascension is to be able to play back the life and know exactly that I crawled and maybe even ran out of the clutches of my own fear and illusion. And you know what this takes? It doesn't just take compassion and love. I'm sorry to say. It takes aspects of ourselves which are a bit stronger than that, like awareness. Awareness is kind of like a detective. What is under the bed? How can we clean the house if you keep yourself or any part of yourself hiding under the bed? Now, I find it very funny that the idea of cool is even a thing, and the idea of proper is ever elevated in any sort of relationship. Proper. Do what's proper. Do what's nice. Do what is unlikely to cause a stir. That's generally how beings here in this matrix operate. Now, so you're anxious. So what are you going to do? Well, first of all, you must be clear with yourself. You must be aware of what it is has led to that effect of anxiety. The law of cause and effect, simply knowing how energy translates itself from within to without, should tell us everything about our awareness or lack of awareness. So if we end up in a state of immense anxiety, we actually can look at the breadcrumbs and be honest with ourselves if we can do that, and we can. And we look at those breadcrumbs and we say, oh, wow. Oh, wow. There are very specific actions or thoughts or inclinations or perspectives or health habits that led to this anxiety. And in my travels, I have realized what most people need is not more ideas. You know, ideas. They all sound so good. They all sound so fancy. Okay, well, unless you can be aware and derive true presence from that awareness, I mean, an idea is just an idea. So if that's the case, why don't we focus on the awareness and the presence and the embodiment of the divine rather than hypothesizing and guessing about the divine? That is literally the whole basis of her message. It's like, no, you don't get to sit there. You don't get to sit there and beg for this or that unless you yourself are imbibing in those very energies. You want to know the divine? Oh, then be the divine. I mean, it's very simple, but it takes awareness, and awareness takes effort. Because a lot of the times, it's very easy to lie. It's very easy to ignore. I mean, it's very easy to stagnate. But why is it easy to stagnate? Because we grow patterns. We grow patterns. We grow patterns. That doesn't mean we have to keep nurturing those patterns. For instance, let's use some examples. You know, I can't have much sympathy at all for the being who gets in relationship after relationship getting destroyed, getting their heart destroyed, and then just repeating that. I have said so many times, I've concluded we are not afraid. We are not afraid more of losing ourselves. There's much more fear surrounding finding ourselves, because that means all illusions must crumble. And dear humans, you love your illusions, don't you? Yes, you do. So the basis of these current times is that all illusions are breaking apart. And I want to encourage any of you who have been very upset about the current situation. I want to encourage all of you to know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with energetic contracts, which you sign whenever you engage in any sort of stream of information. And if the underlying message is fear, if the underlying message is be worried and intimidated about what's to come, it is not true. And you know, I actually think many of us just don't have examples, and it's like we are waiting for those examples. So perhaps you're not surrounded by anybody who, for instance, does plenty of fasting and is not obsessed with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But we have to know that there are different ways of being. I mean, we don't have to emulate anything. I mean, we don't even have to emulate the so-called spiritual masters. Why not give ourselves permission to formulate our own systemless system, which is the opposite of ideology. It's an ever-changing, ever-moving, never stagnating truth. Aphrodite, good to see you. Yeah, you asked, how come you don't support others on YouTube? What happened to your sense of community? Do you have nothing to learn from me? Am I the only teacher and scolder? Well, brushing past the crumbs of contempt in that question, you know, it's been my experience through the past few years that I upset people. I mean, really, I upset people who I oftentimes work with, and it's usually because I don't speak the same language. I do not speak that same language. So, I mean, getting a bit personal, pretty routinely, people in my life, they will get very belligerent and you know, call me some kind of force of oppression or something. So after these experiences, I have realized that, well, there's no harm in simply putting out content, and whatever sort of community can formulate around that, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. There's a difference. You know, some people do things for community. Some people even get into spirituality for community. For them, it's more about having friends and maybe a new family and that kind of thing. But that's not the position I'm coming from. The position I'm coming from is that this is a journey of soul reclamation. And it happens, of course, individually. We could say individually, collectively. So, yeah, there's different reasons why people even engage in speech. I have realized that much of people's speech, it's revolving around what they're hoping reality to be, rather than what actually is. So yeah, if any of you want to scold and teach, then I mean, you have your own channels, and that's how we operate here. Now, did anybody see this Meat Eater's recent compilation of people with, well, terrible awareness of what they're doing to their body? And I saw myself in this, and I was so happy. It's like, wow, I've made it to this, but you know, I'd like to think I look a bit out of place in that compilation. So let's talk about that. Why don't we? Because a lot of the emails I receive now have to do with this confusion about food. And it's become this obsession. I mean, there's all of these dualities now. Plant-based versus meat eating. And both sides are retarded. What are you guys doing fighting? What's the point? Eat your food and continue. Don't you know that hyper-focusing on any aspect of life, it turns that aspect of life sour? We can try to micromanage our bodies, but I like the approach of simply eating the fruit, drinking the urine, having the restful sleep, getting the exercise. And what's the problem there? What's the problem there? And I like to remind people who have a hard time understanding you won't die from not having flesh. I've not had a bite of flesh since I was 12. That's almost 2 decades ago. I'm not falling apart. But overall, it's a duality that is really getting out of control. It's really getting out of control. So because of this, because of how out of control it's gotten, and there's almost no great representative of you know, the fruit-based way of eating. In a few days' time, I shall begin, I think I'll call it a masterclass of sorts, but we're about to dive deep into the body. And I know some of you have been waiting, but I did announce this in the last live stream. That's the next topic of focus, and we're going to be covering the philosophy of fasting. We're going to be covering what it does beyond the physical, and we're going to include very important aspects of health that are left in the dust, like remineralization. So, that's coming up. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. Because you know what? You all are constipated. You all are constipated. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. Without cleansing those organs, which is really giving yourself an internal bath. You cleanse your outer body. Why not cleanse your inner body? Without that, there is absolutely fecal matter stuck to your body. How's that for a transition of topic? You see, why do I always get back to this, especially in recent times? Why am I talking about fasting and fruit and urine? I mean, what's changed? How come I won't talk about these concepts like hyperborea, for instance? Well, it's because in my experience, I know this is not what people need. This is not what living souls need right now. Almost every being I speak to, and I mean almost everyone, does not take care of themselves in the way they know they could. And that is the element of their lives that they should be focusing on, in my not so humble opinion. We say we live in the world, but you actually live in your body. You actually live in your body. So how can people have different sensations within the same reality? Well, it's not the same reality. In a way, your body is its own universe. It is self-contained. It actually is. I have a fetish for cleansing. Well, you can call it that, but that's what is needed. I mean, we all have buttholes. We've all smelled the putrid things that have come out of us. We've seen it. Well, why is that there? How can you make sure that putrid stuff isn't there? And how will you feel afterwards? So we can call that a fetish, but that's insinuating that something like cleansing is unhealthful or detrimental or somehow going to destroy you. If it's not your thing, I mean, hey, don't cleanse. It's just, I'm not sitting here with an iron rod telling you all to stop being constipated. I mean, if you want to be constipated and put slime and ooze into your body and call that fantastic, then I think that is your sovereign right to do so. All I'm saying is there is another side of health, and I am on that side, and it feels quite cool to not have a burden in your temple. And this is spiritual. I mean, how is that not spiritual? Connecting with the vessel you're in? There's a reason why that isn't at the forefront of spirituality. There's a reason that the physical body is ignored. Why? Because it's toxic. Why do people not enjoy talking about their poops? Because some of you might even think it's uncouth. People don't like talking about their poops because they're ashamed of it. It's like people don't like talking about their pasts because they're ashamed of it. People don't like talking about this relationship because they're ashamed of it. Well, people don't like talking about their repressed aspects, the lack of physical vitality. It's very hard to deal with this. But what's the other option? What's the other option? Well, you can give yourself a bath. And you can connect with every one of your organs. And we're going to go into that. This isn't the live stream for really in-depth information on this stuff. This is just kind of another introduction to what's coming. Listen, I hear all of you, but I exist on a mainly juice diet. So, I mean, I'm a semi-breatharian at this point, so I have no clue what anybody is ever talking about when they're trying to combat something like giving yourself an internal bath. I mean, that's just a fresh feeling. When I think of vitality, I think of freshness, like crispness. And that's actually what allures us most when we think about what grabs our eye. What grabs our eye is very, very alluring and fresh. And one could say alluring because of its freshness. So as long as we can feel connected to our temples, to our minds, to our breath, to our speech, presence naturally occurs, and awareness shall be achieved, and confusion erased. Confusion erased. But you know, some beings thrive on being confused. Some beings are like, no, I enjoy it. No, give me instability. Breatharian. Well, first of all, I use that term very lightly because I'm not an advocate of trying to exist on just your breath. I mean, what's the point? What's the point? That's a kind of discipline which is just, well, it's actually not able to be achieved by most. So when I say I'm a semi-breatharian, I suppose what I really mean to say is I don't require as many calories as I used to. Most of my hours in the day are spent fasting, and this has not led to a degradation of health. And all I can conclude is that the breath, as the body cleans itself, becomes a sort of nutrient in and of itself. But at the same time, I am not about to take this to the extreme and advocate for everyone to get off of food and water, because that's ridiculous. But if it's naturally achieved, it is. When I set out on this fasting journey, I did not want to become anything. It just felt good. It just felt really wonderful. And then over time, I realized, oh, my metabolism has slowed down, meaning I can consume less and, you know, and keep being alive. So these are things that don't have to be pursued, like breatharianism or always fasting or even an all juice diet. There's a woman I spoke to yesterday. She doesn't have it in it to do a juice fast yet. I mean, she doesn't have a juicer, but it's also a commitment. So she's doing a watermelon fast. It's the first time in her life. May I say, she is about 3 decades old. Imagine 3 decades, never once taking a pause, taking one day not to eat, maybe other than when you're sick. Now, we will dive into breatharianism at the end of the masterclass. I expect it to be maybe 20 videos. I mean, it's going to change the tune of this channel. But when we're talking about meat eating, listen, everyone, every word I speak always is pointing to the beyond. So I know there's arguments for eating meat, you know, vitamins and minerals and all these things, and it works with your physical body. I'm equally concerned with how my decisions carry over. And I just won't decide to engage in death, especially the consumption of it. That's that. You see, that's it for me. There's no other appeal. There's no appeal about these sacred vitamins that I somehow need to live. Well, you got to speak truth. You got to speak truth. Listen, you bozos. Listen, you bozos. I don't care about this world. I'm passing through this world. And something like awareness of self, awareness of body, of mind, all of that stuff, that is one of the greatest antidotes to this strange situation. So no appeal to this world is ever going to work on me. No appeal about how destructive we're told we are is going to change, because you put things in a garbage can. Yes, you do. Apparently, in this physical reality, that garbage gets sealed inside of the earth. There's just mounds of garbage. Okay, well, why not cry to the ends of the earth and become a garbage activist? You see, I operate knowing that this is a veil of Maya. I don't take this place too seriously. That's why I'm able to poo-poo it. Because this place is an inverted reflection of paradise. It's a walk-in metaphor. It's a representation of what happens when forgetfulness of spirit ensues and creates a world. So anything in this world that wants to tug at your heartstrings, it's a lie. It's a lie. Let me repeat that. Anything that is trying to tug at your heartstrings to tell you to feel bad is purely a manipulation, always. Don't you care about the garbage dumps? Don't you care about the earth? Actually, I don't. How about that? Actually, this is a dream. It's almost exactly like if you have a dream and all of a sudden you want to be in service to the atrocities in that dream, well, that's kind of an awkward situation for a living soul. Okay, I'll just say it. I feel like I upset almost everybody We are all passing through, but is one thriving? It's easy to be a monk in the woods, but we only truly know ourselves in the mirror of relationship. Well, that's why I do have relationship. Yeah. Agreed, but what's wrong with being a monk in the woods? It's pretty tranquil. Don't a lot of you want to be a monk in the woods, even for a week? I mean, I can't imagine a greater existence, actually, in this realm. What's the other alternative? Well, there's many alternatives, but this is the one I chose. I do not have children, no. I have chosen not to have children. I'm not here to be a provider in this realm. I'm literally just passing through and making art on my way and speaking things and laughing at funny parts of this maze. Uh, yeah, I'm aware. I, I'm aware people really don't appreciate the fact that there's a being who isn't confused about this reality, and also who isn't repeating the same love and light BS. Listen, somebody has to be a juxtaposition to all of that weakness, like all of that deadness, and it. If we're going to really analyze that, I would say you're lying. You're lying. You think you're harmless? You think you're just nice and pleasant? Really, that's the only energy you wish to exude and showcase. Why? Where's the vitality? Where's the energy? I know you're nice. I know you love all of humanity. I get it. Okay, it's a nice sentiment, but I personally would simply imagine that the divine is so multidimensional that it can even be kind of scary. Not in a fear way, but like maniacal almost. A playful maniacal mood. I mean, as an example, why can't that be an expression of the divine? Because it's all love and light always. Well, please, you'll give yourself heart attacks from self-repression if you keep that up, and maybe it's honest, but I get the sense, I feel the ether or something like that, and get the sense that the sacred masculine is pissed on, you know? I mean, where's that driving strength? Please put it in my inbox. Give me some thriving strength, and I'll give you a gold star, or I'll send you a happy birthday song or something. Don't take me too seriously. I'm simply laughing at monotonous expressions of consciousness, because, well, it is laughable. It is laughable, but dynamicism can't be forced. And it's simply not entertaining. I mean, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think something like spirituality or cosmic intelligence or any one of those fancy phrases, like it insinuates you're going to feel really fun and free and allowed to be, I mean, whatever it is you wish to be, as long as your intention is not coming from the seed of harm. You know, like what's the problem? But yeah, so, but again, they may just be people may just be constipated. It could just be that simple. It's like, yep, your solar plexus is, there's a burden on it, and well, oh well, you know. You know, and this actually is a tip, and it's a tip you really never heard. I implore you to make a mockery of life every now and then. I implore you to troll existence for no reason. Not to destroy anything, but, you know, when we can act like fools and allow ourselves to act like fools, then, well, we're free to express anything. Aphrodite, why do you want to do this right now, man? I mean, the thing is, I don't resonate with your channel. I don't. So why would I watch it or promote it? I'll say hi every now and then because I care about you. It just has to do with what makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me. I wish to point at that which we can actually do, and that we can actually terraform rather than just pointing at things. So whether it's your channel or anybody's channel, my lack of viewership is not exclusive to one of these channels. It's just what would be the point of engaging in that? So, you know, there's a reason I don't collaborate with many people because, well, for instance, when I dismantle something like compassion, that's usually at first it's kind of a shock to people because, I mean, what guy who talks about the divine publicly denounces compassion? Well, this guy. So, you know, I'm just doing my thing. That's what I've chosen. Aphrodite, I've never harmed you, so I don't see how any behavior is gross. You're insinuating that I must watch your channel and promote you. I mean, we all have freedom here. So you did help me, and I helped you. I mean, we helped each other in many ways, and I mean, there's gratitude there. I was not aware there was going to be the need for a specific return, you know. But yeah, I can't promote anybody's channel, which I see as almost opposite of the message I am speaking. So it's like, hey, if you think this is just terrible, then I mean, maybe that's true. You see, maybe I am terrible. Oh, okay. Let's not do this, Aphrodite. Just see me as evil or something. I'm not here to do a tug of war. Oh, okay. Hey man, deep respect. What happened to Quasi Luminous channel? He doesn't upload anymore. I know you separated yourself from him, but just wondering if you know what happened to him. Well, yeah, I have my take. Uh, you know, quasi-luminous just he started to stagnate. I mean, his content stopped being fresh, and uh, you know, I would say his substance abuse did something to him. Maybe he's better now. I'm sure he's fine, but yeah, whenever I peek into Mark's world, I see a man on loop. And quite truthfully, I have no idea. I mean, I really don't get what he's even talking about anymore. So I don't know is my full answer. Was that you on Decode Your Reality today? I don't know. Every now and then people will post parts of my videos like on Instagram and stuff without giving me credit. So maybe it was that, but no, I mean, you think I'm ever invited on any live stream? Oh, absolutely not. So no, if you ever think I've collaborated with other channels other than the 3 or 4 that's in my interviews, yeah, that's not me. You see, and like that's going back to just like YouTube and subscribers. It's like for me, it's not about views or subscribers. I mean, it's the very reason I choose not to use my large channel, because I mean, I'm not here to blow any concept up. So if we're not doing this for the sake of truth, and we're trying to use it for well, for like these purposes, then we're going to feel like a sourpuss. Can you talk about conscious breathing in the present moment? Actually, no. You decided to trespass into this territory, so we're going to go there. We're going to go there. Okay. So projection is what happens when we decide to ignore the aspects within ourselves and brand it on another and point the finger and say, no, you are this way. So we have that example. Now, a being who simply accuses is a being with loads of trauma, unresolved trauma. This is what happens when we go without and we don't dive within and understand there's a war zone inside of us. And that war zone, it's not going away until we create a truce. Well, you're probably right. So Aphrodite, I never thought I would do this, but you know, see ya. Okay, where were we? Well, awareness. Okay, so awareness is a funny thing, because awareness is a state that's free of analysis. We talk about analysis paralysis all the time. It's very painful to see analysis paralysis in oneself and even in others. Much of the time we have convinced ourselves that we can only come to grand experiences through the mental masturbation that analysis paralysis offers us. But ultimately, it only offers us paralysis. Thoughts and ideas and projections and assumptions. Thoughts and ideas and projections and assumptions. Projections into the future. Projections coming from your past. What's the deal? It's called not being embodied. And this is why, to answer your question, this is why the breath is such a beautiful benchmark of the non-analytical presence, which just is. And you know what? In that just is, there's much movement to be had. It's just free of oppressive thought. So when we're in analysis paralysis, we're in what I call mind bureaucracy. Mind bureaucracy. It's imposed by nobody else. You know, we can say society conditioned me. We can say my mother imprinted this personality trait on me. But you and I should know we're not victims ever. This experience is the expression of your soul. At least it is one expression of your soul. It doesn't matter what you call the Force. You could call it the Force, like in Star Wars. May the Force be with you. Isn't that the same thing as God bless? Stay alive. Isn't that the same thing as be true to yourself? Awareness over everything else. Yes, and that's why we have the principle, awareness above intellect, because it's well and dandy to have intelligence, but when we're talking about the intellect, we're talking about the realm of hyper-analysis. It's quite academic, isn't it? Oh, it has little time for the ins and outs of art and music and everything else. The intangible